Tehran streets, missiles launching, ships stranded at sea. Oil prices ticker going up 2 nights ago. The President of the United States sat in the Oval Office and typed the words, "Steriska, whole civilization will die tonight." Asterisk, he wasn't joking. American bombers were in the air. Targets were locked. Bridges, power plants, water treatment facilities across Iran, all marked for destruction. The kind of strikes that would kill millions. The clock was ticking. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That was the deadline. And then, 1 hour and 47 minutes before that deadline, a phone rang in Islamabad, Pakistan. And somehow, that phone call is the reason we are not in World War III right now. Stay with me, because what actually happened over the last 42 days is one of the most insane, terrifying, and honestly, kind of jaw-dropping stories of the 21st century. And most Americans have nitrogen monoxide idea just how close we came to the edge. I'm going to break down everything, who did what, who said what on Twitter, what experts say happens next, and what this whole thing means for your wallet, your gas prices, your retirement account. Let's go. Map of Middle East, Israel, Iran, archival clips of nuclear negotiations, asterisk, okay? So to understand how we got here, you need to understand one date. Asterisk, asterisk, February 28th, 2026. Asterisk, asterisk. That's the day the United States and Israel launched a joint air war against Iran. No formal declaration of war from Congress. No extended public debate. Just bombs falling on Tehran. And not just military targets. On day one, the strikes killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The man who had run the Islamic Republic for decades, gone. Now think about that for a second. Imagine a foreign country assassinated the President of the United States with an airstrike. What would America do? Iran did exactly what you'd expect. They closed the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if you don't know what the Strait of Hormuz is, it is literally the throat of the world's oil supply. 20% of all the oil on Earth passes through that narrow strip of water. Every single day, before the war, 110 ships went through it. After February 28th, that number dropped to 5. Oil prices shot up 50% in a single month, the steepest monthly rise in recorded history. Gas at American pumps crossed $4 a gallon. Airlines started canceling routes. Shipping companies started rerouting around Africa, adding weeks and billions to delivery costs. And that's before we even get to the missiles. Asterisk B-roll. Drone footage, ship tracking maps, missile launch clips. Protests in Washington, D.C., asterisk, for the next 40 days. The Middle East looked like the end of a video game on its hardest setting. Iran didn't just sit there. They fired back hard. Missile and drone strikes against Israel. Against U.S. military bases across the region. Against Gulf countries that they felt were enabling America. Abu Dhabi got hit. Saudi refineries got hit. A French-operated refinery on Saudi Arabia's eastern coast was so badly damaged it had to shut down entirely. American pilots were getting shot down over Iran. One Air Force colonel was stranded behind enemy lines in the mountains of Iran for over a day, while Trump posted on Truth Social bragging about the rescue mission before it was even complete. Meanwhile, on Twitter, it was chaos. Stephen King, yes, the Stephen King tweeted at the White House. Asterisk, who started this mess, you idiot? Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wrote that Trump was threatening genocide and launched an unconstitutional war, calling for his immediate impeachment. Pope Leo, the brand new pope, gave his very first Easter address and said, literally, asterisk, let those who have weapons lay them down. Asterisk. And Trump. Trump posted on Truth Social, and I'm going to read this because you need to hear it. He threatened to open what he called Power Plant Day and Bridge Day in Iran. He said, and I quote, asterisk open the F, asterisk, 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 ing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Asterisk, this is the President of the United States. On social media. during an active war. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because behind all the public rage and the missiles and the oil crisis, something else was happening quietly. Something nobody saw coming. April 7, 2026. Tuesday. Trump issues a final ultimatum. Iran has until 8 p.m. Eastern Time to agree to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, or the U.S. will destroy Iran's civilian SLT. Infrastructure, bridges, power plants, water systems. Legal experts immediately said this out loud. Targeting civilian infrastructure is a war crime under international law. But Trump didn't blink. 7 p.m., no deal. 7:30 p.m. Silence from Tehran. And then here's the part that should give you chills. At around 6:10 p.m., just under 2 hours before the deadline, Iran sent a message, not to Washington directly, to Pakistan. And Pakistan relayed it to Washington. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi confirmed that Iran was willing to discuss a ceasefire framework. And at 6:13 p.m., Trump posted on Truth Social, "Asteriski have agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Asterisk, the war stopped, not with a treaty, not with a press conference, with a Truth Social post. 1 hour and 47 minutes before Trump's own deadline to destroy a civilization." So, who made that call? Who got Iran to blink? Who got Trump to take the off-ramp? The answer is going to surprise you. Islamabad, Pakistani PM, Shehbaz Sharif, Pakistani border, map Pakistan. A country that most Americans, if we're being honest, couldn't find on a map without some effort. A country dealing with its own economic crises, its own political instability. A country that shares a long, complicated border with Iran, and has deep cultural and religious ties with Tehran, while also being a formal U.S. ally. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif had been quietly working the phones for weeks. He got both sides to actually talk. He delivered America's 15-point proposal to Iran. He took Iran's counterproposal back to Washington. And when the ceasefire was finally announced, Sharif posted on Twitter and invited both delegations to come to Islamabad on Friday, April 10th. That's today, to settle all disputes. He wrote, "Asterisk earnestly hope that the Islamabad talks succeed in achieving sustainable peace." Asterisk. Right now, as you're watching this video, American and Iranian diplomats are in Islamabad, Pakistan, sitting across from each other at a negotiating table, trying to figure out if this ceasefire can become something permanent. That's extraordinary. Pakistan becoming the Switzerland of the Middle East. Nobody predicted that. But here's the thing, and this is the part the news channels kind of gloss over. The ceasefire is already under serious stress. Because Israel didn't stop. While the U.S. and Iran agreed to pause, Israel continued its massive bombing campaign in Lebanon against Hezbollah. Netanyahu said, quote, "Today we dealt Hezbollah the greatest blow since the pagers." Lebanon declared a national day of mourning after Israeli strikes killed at least 200 people in a single day. Iran is furious. They say Lebanon is included in the ceasefire. Pakistan says Lebanon is included. But Israel says Lebanon was never part of the deal. So we have a ceasefire where one of the main fighting parties is still fighting. This is either a very shaky peace or the opening act of round 2. Okay, so let's talk about what's actually in this ceasefire, because both sides are claiming they won. And when both sides claim victory after the same deal, that usually means nobody actually agreed on anything. Here's what Iran's 10-point proposal demands: lifting ALLUS and international sanctions on Iran. Withdrawal of all U.S. combat forces from the entire region, Iran's right to continue enriching uranium. War reparations, basically. America pays Iran for the damage recognition of Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. An end to all attacks on Hezbollah and Iran's allies everywhere. Here's what America's 15-point proposal demands. Iran permanently ends its nuclear program. Iran limits its long-range missile program. Iran stops supporting Hezbollah and other armed groups. Strait of Hormuz becomes a free international waterway, not under Iranian control. These two documents are not compatible. They are almost opposites. Trump said Iran's proposal is a workable basis for negotiation. Iran said America accepted the general framework of their proposal. America said they didn't say that. Analyst Omar Rahman described the situation bluntly, saying the two sides' demands remain far apart, and called the current outcome, quote, an unmitigated failure for Trump. So what you have is a 2-week pause where both sides are telling their own people they won, while the actual disagreements haven't moved an inch. Does that sound familiar? It should. Now let's talk about what the experts are actually saying, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. Matt Gertkon, chief geopolitical strategist at BCA Research, said this, and I want you to really hear this. Asterisk kiting will ignite later this year, if not later this month. Asterisk. His reasoning, Trump may temporarily accept Iran as a gatekeeper of the Strait of Hormuz right now, because U.S. midterm elections are coming and gas prices are hurting American families. But after the election, the U.S. national security establishment will demand a more permanent solution. And that means conflict returns. Vice President J.D. Vance already said the truce is fragile. Because his words, some people in Iran are lying about even the fragile truce we've already struck. Laura Loomer, one of Trump's closest allies, went on X and said the ceasefire will fail and that America got nothing out of the deal. And there's one more thing nobody's talking about enough. The Strait of Hormuz is still not fully open. Before the war, 110 ships passed through it every day. As of yesterday, they're counting ships in the single digits. There are 187 tankers with 172 million barrels of oil just sitting there, waiting, trapped. Shipping insurance companies won't cover transit yet. Iran hasn't laid out a clear plan for safe passage. And there are reports of mines still in the water. The oil backlog is real. And it won't clear overnight. Asterisk stock market graphics, gas station footage, grocery store prices, mortgage rates, asterisk presenter, direct. Talking to viewer personally, asterisk. So what does all of this mean for you? For your bank account, your gas tank, your mortgage. Here's the good news. First, when the ceasefire was announced Wednesday morning, the Dow jumped 1,325 points, its best single day in a full year. The S&P 500 gained 2.5%. The Nasdaq surged 2.8%. If you have a 401,000 or any index funds, you probably saw a nice little green day this week. Oil prices dropped 16% in a single day, the biggest one-day oil crash since 2020. That's relief at the pump, but don't get too excited because oil is still at $96 a barrel. Before the war started on February 27th, it was at $67. So we're still paying a war premium on every gallon. And here's the inflation warning nobody wants to say out loud. The OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, has forecast that U.S. inflation will hit 4.2% this year. Before the war, it was running at 2.7%. That means groceries, rent, utilities, all of it going higher. The 10-year Treasury yield dropped to 4.2% on ceasefire news, which pushed 30-year mortgage rates down slightly to about 6.38%. Small relief, but not a victory lap. The bottom line, the ceasefire gave markets hope. But hope is not a policy. If the Islamabad talks fail, if Israel and Hezbollah keep fighting, if Iran decides the deal isn't being honored, markets could reverse everything they gained, and fast. Here's the question I keep coming back to. We just watched the United States go to war without a vote in Congress, without a formal declaration, without a clear end goal, and in 40 days over 1,500 people were killed, including 57 health workers and hundreds of children. Iran's supreme leader was killed in an airstrike. A girls' school was bombed. The Strait of Hormuz, a waterway that literally keeps the world's economy running, was shut down for 6 weeks. And now we're calling it a ceasefire, not a victory, not a peace, a pause. Pakistan, a country the U.S. has had a complicated relationship with for decades, ended up being the one to prevent what could have been the most catastrophic escalation since World War II. And all of it unfolded on X on Truth Social, in tweets and posts and midnight rants. The question isn't whether the ceasefire holds. The question is, how did we get to a world where the difference between peace and World War III was a phone call, a 2-week deadline, and a Truth Social post? The Islamabad talks are happening right now. We will have updates in the next 48 hours that could change everything. If you want to stay ahead of this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll be covering every development as it happens. And drop a comment. Do you think this ceasefire holds? Or are we back to missiles by the end of the month? I'll be reading every single comment. See you in the next one.